All right, let's just jump right into it. The age-old debate, home workouts versus the gym. Which one's actually better? This is the question that trips so many of us up before we even get started. So today, we're going to settle it.
I mean, it's such a classic dilemma, right? Because at the end of the day, all we really want are results we can actually see and feel. But man, the choices can feel totally overwhelming.
So the real question is, where should you actually work out to get those results? And I'm not just talking about what's comfy, I'm talking about what's truly effective for things like building muscle, losing fat, and, most importantly, creating a routine that you don't quit after 2 weeks.
So, you know what? Let's cut through all the noise, all the opinions, the Instagram hype, all of it. We're going to settle this debate with actual science. The goal here is to give you a clear, no-nonsense answer, so you can finally figure out what's best for you and your goals.
Okay, before we even get into the pros and cons, let's get one thing straight, because this is super important. The biggest factor in getting results, it's not your location. It's not about where you are, but what you're actually doing.
And honestly, the science on this is crystal clear. Your success really boils down to 5 key things. We're talking about consistency, something called progressive overload, your nutrition, recovery, and just sticking to the plan. That's the real secret sauce. Your gym or your living room, that's just the stage. These 5 pillars are the real stars of the show.
Let's zoom in on that one term for a sec, progressive overload. I know it sounds a little technical, but it's a total game changer, and it's pretty simple. It just means you have to keep making your workouts a little bit harder over time. That's what forces your body to adapt, get stronger, and grow. And as you're about to see, how you do this is one of the biggest differences between working out at home and hitting the gym.
Okay, so with those core principles in mind, let's make the case for team home workout. What are the real, practical upsides to ditching the gym and just getting it done in your own space?
Well, the advantages are pretty huge, and they're all super practical. First off, you save a ton of time. No commute, no packing a gym bag. It's obviously way, way easier on your wallet. And, for anyone who's just starting out, it's a private, judgment-free zone where you can build confidence. That convenience factor alone is massive. It makes it so much easier to be consistent, which, remember, is pillar number 1.
But it's not all perfect. There are some real limitations. That whole progressive overload thing we just talked about, doing that with really heavy weight gets tricky at home. Sure, you can add more reps or use bands, but it's just harder to isolate specific muscles if you're aiming for serious growth. And let's be real, for some of us, if the couch is right there, finding the motivation can be a real struggle.
All right, so now let's flip the script. What about Team Gym? What are you getting with that gym membership that you just can't replicate in your living room?
The biggest, most obvious advantage of the gym is the sheer amount of equipment. You've got machines, barbells, dumbbells, a whole rack of weights. It makes progressive overload incredibly straightforward. It's practically limitless. This is why it's pretty much the undisputed champ for maximizing muscle growth and building pure, raw strength. Plus, just being around other people who are also working hard, that can be a huge motivator all by itself.
Of course, the gym isn't perfect either. There are definitely downsides. First, there's the cost of membership, which can be a real barrier. Then you've got to factor in the time it takes to get there and back. And that same environment that some people find motivating, it can feel super intimidating to others. Not to mention, jumping on unfamiliar equipment and lifting heavy without knowing proper form, that's a recipe for injury. Okay, we've laid out the pros and cons for both sides, so how in the world do you actually decide? Let's put them head to head and see who wins for different goals.
So if you look at this, for fat loss, it's pretty much a tie. Honestly, that's more about your diet and being in a calorie deficit anyway. But when we talk about muscle growth and that all-important progressive overload, yeah, the gym has a really clear advantage. Now on the flip side, for cost and pure convenience, home workouts win, hands down, no contest. And for those really big long-term physique goals, the gym generally pulls ahead.
So let's make this super simple. The bottom line is this. You should probably choose home if you're a beginner, if your main goal is general fitness or fat loss, or if you're just trying to build that basic habit of consistency without breaking the bank. On the other hand, you should probably choose the gym if your number one goal is to build serious muscle size and strength, and you're really committed to that long-term physique journey.
But hey, remember, this isn't an all-or-nothing deal. You don't have to pick just one. A lot of people have amazing success with a hybrid approach. It's like the best of both worlds. Maybe you do quick workouts at home during the busy week, then hit the gym for your big, heavy sessions on the weekend. Or another great way to do it is to start at home, build that solid foundation of just showing up, and then graduate to the gym when you feel ready to take it to the next level.
All right, let's start wrapping this up. I want to bust one last big myth and then really hammer home the things that matter no matter where you end up training.
Okay, you've probably heard this one a million times, right? The myth that you can't build serious muscle at home. That to get real results, you absolutely have to be in a gym lifting heavy iron.
Well, let me tell you, that's just not true. The science is pretty clear here. Your muscles have no idea if you're in a fancy gym or your garage. They only understand one thing: resistance, tension. That's it. You can activate your muscles anywhere, and bodyweight exercises are incredibly effective, especially for building that initial strength and foundation.
And this brings us full circle, right back to those foundational pillars we talked about at the beginning. Things like getting enough protein, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, staying hydrated, taking your rest days. These are the absolute non-negotiables. Honestly, they matter so much more than whether you have a gym membership or not.
So, look, if you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this. The most perfect, scientifically designed workout program in the world is completely useless if you don't actually do it. The best workout for you, whether it's at home, at the gym, or some mix of the two, is simply the one you can be consistent with. The one you'll actually follow week in, week out. So the real question isn't which one is better, it's which one is better for me to actually stick with. That's the answer you're looking for.